Another potential strategy, which is, I think, especially helpful for breaking up long periods of sedentary activity, is using something called exercise snacks. And this is something that's it's picking up some momentum in the peer-reviewed literature, but it's basically these really short, isolated bouts of vigorous exercise that are performed for very short periods of time, but done periodically throughout the day. So, for example, you might do 3 20-second intervals of vigorous stair climbing. Literally what this looks like is you're at your desk job in the office, step away from the desk. Instead of walking to the water cooler, you go to the stairwell, 20 seconds hard, catch your breath, 20 seconds hard, catch your breath, 20 seconds hard, catch your breath. Boom, you're done for the hour. And so you'll find different approaches to this concept of exercise snacks, but generally speaking, it's, you might do something really short every hour on the hour. But of course you can adapt that, do it every other hour. There are also some that are a little bit longer that are kind of closer to 5 minutes, but you would do them maybe every 3 to 4 hours. But the general idea is scheduling in planned regular breaks. The previous list of activities was more oriented toward, I'm going to do something that has a different purpose, but I'm getting physical activity as I'm doing it, right? Yeah. I'm mowing the lawn because my grass is long, but it's nice to know that I'm breaking up my sedentary time. But for this, it is exercise for the purpose of exercise, and it's done on a more regular schedule and done several times throughout the day. And so what they try to do with this approach is do interventions with a lot of ecological validity and a lot of practical utility. So they try to do things like stair walking, brisk walking, air squats, sit to stand, like basically chair squats, body weight calisthenics. The idea is that you could, in a wide range of occupations, take a second, go do this for 3-4 minutes, get back to your chair and not be disruptive and not have to drive to the gym, change clothes, take a shower, etc. Mm-hmm. So this is an area of research that is just getting rolling, but these are some nice strategies. If you're someone who was really interested by Greg's previous segments about walking, but you don't necessarily do that well psychologically with highly quantitative approaches to exercise, if you prefer to,
or if you just don't have time to get in that many steps.
True.
It's like that. Yeah. It is time consuming.
Exactly. Yeah. But the time consuming component is big, but I've also seen instances in the physique athlete world where people will tend to take things to extremes. Psychologically, it is an extreme endeavor. And sometimes people respond really unfavorably when you say, hey, try to walk 15,000 steps per day. And it's like they are so fixated on that number all day. It's really detrimental to quality of life for some people. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ways to break up your sedentary activity, and there's ample evidence to suggest that it can be a really positive thing to do so.
So I've actually got an anecdote related to exercise snacks.
Cool.
So back in the day, I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. I read a book many of you have probably heard of called The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. And do not count this as a recommendation to read that book. There's some good practical advice mixed with some not so good advice. Not the best signal to noise ratio you'll come across. But one of the things he recommended for, I think, completely incorrect reasons has actually turned out to be relatively helpful for me. So he had this whole section about just hey, how can you use the magic of nutrient repartitioning to ensure that you can eat a bunch of food and not gain any fat? And he was like, well, so look, you have these glucose transporters in muscles, and if you just do 40 body weight squats before a meal, that's going to cause a ton of non-insulin mediated GLUT4 translocation. All of those carbs you take in, they're just gonna go straight to your muscles. There's no way they could possibly meet any other metabolic fate. So boom, you've hacked your metabolism, and all it takes is 40 body weight squats.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's not true. But when I first encountered that information, I was much dumber and more naive, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll give this a shot. And so I didn't notice physical effects that comported with what I was told to expect in the book. But what I did find is just that doing some bodyweight squats from time to time did just help me feel mentally sharper and kind of feel better. So I've actually developed a bit of a habit where, like, not every time, but most of the time when I use the bathroom, I just do like 20 bodyweight squats before I leave.
While you're using...
Yeah, I mean, it's good for practicing your aim. There's it makes a day-to-day activity kind of like a mini game that you might play in like a Mario Party or something. But no, afterwards. Like I find that, it just helps get the blood flowing. I find that I have more, like, I feel more energetic and just have more mental clarity after that. It's very simple. So that's something, at least anecdotally, that has been helpful for me.